Again, everyone. So here we are with episode 4 of season 4 of Playing for the Planet here in our vodcast studio. Now, we started off with a former player earlier this week. Well, let's get to a current player who has to say absolutely loves a league and cup double because she first did it with ADO Den Haag in the Netherlands in 2012, then repeated the feat with Manchester City in 2016. And then, as if that wasn't enough, she did it again with Rangers, for whom she currently plays, in 2022. She's someone who's very active and respected in the climate conversation. She represents various groups and organisations, including Sokito, who make vegan football boots. We'll talk about them in a bit. Welcome along, Tessel Middag. How are you doing, Tessel?
Thank you, David. Thank you for having me. I'm good. Thank you. Just finished training. So, all ready to go for you.
It's a thrilling end of the season in prospect for you at Rangers. You're in a title battle. You're in the final of the Sky Sports Cup. You're in the semi-finals of the Scottish Women's Cup as well. So how is the vibe? How's the atmosphere in the dressing room right now?
Well, I think for everyone who's followed the Scottish Women's Premier League in the last years, it's always up to a very tight finish. Last year, unfortunately, we lost the league on goal difference. So that's how close the margins are. The mood in the group is good. We're confident that we can get it over the line. However, it's going to be a tough end to the season, and we need to be on top of our game every single match. A few midweek games coming up as well. So let's see how we get on.
Yeah, this is really the crunch. But I wonder, I mentioned about the whole double thing with you, the Tessel double, I'll call it. But has there been, be honest with us, has there been any talk of even a potential treble? Has that word come up? Because then it could be the Tessel treble. And then it really alliterates and everyone's happy.
Well, it's. I do have to admit it has been part of conversations, but it has been part of conversations ever since I joined Rangers. It is almost expected of us that we win every trophy that we can. So as of yet, I've only won a double so far for Rangers, but not a treble. But every year it's getting harder as well. Other clubs are investing more into their women's teams, which is great to see and very much needed. So it won't be at all easy. And currently we're not even number one in the league. So we need to win against our opponents and see how we get on against the other teams as well before there can be talk of a treble. But of course, we would love that.
I think one thing that you've got going for you is your form in front of goal. You've scored by far the most goals in the league. In fact, you won your first game, I think, 11-0 at Aberdeen and then netted 43 in your first 5 league games. We talk about prolific, but I guess when you're so consistently prolific, and yes, I know it gets tougher now, so you won't be expecting necessarily those high score lines, that's got to give you bags of confidence. You're always going to get a goal.
Well, that's what we try anyway. At least every time we step onto the pitch. Like I mentioned earlier, we lost the game on goal difference last year, so we didn't score enough goals, or we conceded too many, or both. So we're trying to limit, goals. Our goals conceded. We try to score more goals and. Like you mentioned in the first half of the season, that might be a little bit easier because you play against lesser opponents. However, you won't see those score lines coming towards the end of the season now. So it's still up to us to try and score goals even against very tough and well-organized opposition. So we'll see if we can still keep scoring and being prolific, like you said.
But listen, one team that you have found tough this season are the team you're going to face in the final of the Sky Sports Cup, and that is coming up at the end of the week in which this episode airs. You drew back in October, then they beat you 3-0 at your place before Christmas. So, you've got enough incentive here to change the narrative. How do you do it this time around at Fir Park?
Well, there's a few things that we haven't been doing so well in the last games. One of them is our set pieces against, which is a strength of Hips, who we face indeed in the cup final. So that's something that we need to work on and improve on very quickly.
And that's something that you're central to, obviously.
As a centre back, yes, absolutely. Very much responsible for the organization and the setup. But yeah, it takes all of us. Even last week we won 2-0, but we could have conceded 1 or 2 goals from set pieces. So that is something that we definitely need to improve against a strong Hips team. And yeah, hopefully if we do that well, then we can score a few goals and win the cup. That is the end goal, but it won't be easy.
Now, along with your footballing exploits, you become known as someone who is a real voice for good, Tessel, in many areas. But we're focusing particularly on climate and sustainability. How did your interest in that come about?
Um, well, I guess I just follow the news and I read newspapers, and I noticed that there's climate change going on. So I don't know if it's an interest, but it's more like I'm aware of things happening around me, and it's not there's an overwhelming scientific evidence that climate change is real and happening, and that the world is gonna only get warmer if we don't do anything about it. So I don't know how it came about by just yeah, staying alert and being aware of what's happening around me, and with that also comes a bit of a responsibility to try and do everything I can within my power to raise awareness and do something whilst we still can.
Let's just talk generally about kit and apparel, Tessel, because one big challenge in football, isn't it? And I wonder, just until this Green Football campaign this year, how much attention it's really got. Here's a little stat for you. An estimated 100,000 tonnes of sportswear ends up in landfill every year, and that's the equivalent weight of 500 million football shirts. How conscious are you personally of the challenge, and how concerning are those numbers for you?
Yeah, it's not great when you read out those numbers. I've been aware of it because we've actually had a whole workshop around it in one of the climate groups that I'm in, that you mentioned earlier, organized by Common Goal together with Football for Future. They organize workshops about all things to do with football and the climate for professional footballers, male and female, who have a passion for that topic. And one of our sessions was around kit and apparel, and how much indeed ends up in landfill, and how much there's different sort of incentives that are going for different goals, if you like. So you've got clubs and brands who want to bring out as many different kits a year. So at Rangers as well, especially the men's team, I think they have an extra kit. So they have a home kit, an away kit, a third kit, and then like a fourth kit even. Every single year, we've changed our presentation sort of travel kit as well for away games as of January. So all of that is, of course, to try and stimulate fans to buy as much branded clothing as they can, which of course doesn't help if you want to try and stop landfill. So that's just where it's money versus the planet, and that doesn't go together quite well.
You're also an ambassador and investor for Sokito, and they create these sort of lightweight, handcrafted and vegan performance football boots, and you wear them yourself as well. Just tell us a little bit about them and why you got involved with them.
I think it was back in January 2023 when I received a message on Instagram from Sokito whether I would like to try a pair of their boots out, and I was like, yes, absolutely, because that's what I've been waiting for, to be honest, for many years. I've worn Nike Champo boots for many years. Around 10 years ago, I was a Nike athlete as well, so had lots of Nike stuff. But gaining more awareness about some of their practices and about climate change and what we could do about it, and of course the human rights and in factories in Asia, all of that stuff. It didn't really sit well with me, but I also didn't have another option. So you had to wear like one of the big brands in order to do your job. I can't really create a football boot myself, so yeah, initiatives like Sokito, I think, for me was a golden opportunity to try and align my boots more with my values. I have to be honest, like if it hadn't been a good boot, I would have been like, well, this is a great initiative. Keep developing the boot, but I'm still going to keep wearing other brands. However, what I very much liked about Sokito is that the boots fitted in straight away. It feels like leather, but the vegan boots that I'm wearing aren't made of kangaroo leather, which most boots are made of, as I learned. So it's great to be able to wear a boot that is made of recyclable materials, corn, and all sorts of plant-based materials. so that it gives you a bit of a feel-good factor as well when you step on the pitch and you're able to perform with a boot that's better for the planet.
Yeah, the actual ingredients, if you like, or materials in the boots, corn waste, wood fibres, sugarcane, bamboo, castor bean, recycled plastic bottles. I mean, it's insane that you can make a football boot out of that stuff. But how much hope does that give you that they can influence the rest of the sector and that the tech is there, the solutions are there?
Yeah, so absolutely, it's a very hopeful message and a great initiative, and I'm glad that they took so much time designing the boot because they knew that it had to be spot on straight away. So yeah, I've worn the first model that they brought out, the Devista, which is very much like the Adidas Predator or the Nike Jumpo boot, like the same type of feel. But made of better materials. They've recently launched a second model, which I think is slowly making waves within the football world. And then the more players see that other professionals are wearing them, the more that they can be like, well, I'm going to give it a go because it's it's legit here. So it's a very hopeful initiative, and I think it just aligns with many players and fans and people around the world who know and feel that climate change is real, and they want to align all their the purchases and whatever they do in their daily life align with that message that we need to move away from certain fossil fuels and just like using kangaroo leather, for example, to make boots, but you can actually move away from them, and there's a very good alternative right there for you. So that's a very positive message, I think.
If we zoom out a little bit, Tessel, in terms of clothing in general, I mean, that's the focus on, the Green Football campaign this year. It's football kits called Green Football's Great Save, keeping kit out of landfill, keeping it in play. What do you make of a national moment of awareness in a campaign like this?
I think it's brilliant because, like I said, we don't want that much landfill from clothes that we all wear and buy maybe a few times and then we throw them away. The more we can circulate, the more we can keep here in the UK, the better. And I think the popularity of websites like Vinted show that there's a market for it. There's less of a stigma buying secondhand clothes. And hopefully, we can involve the football industry in that as well. Because we spoke before about kits, and there's lots of shirts that are going every single year, and then training kit. There's always like a demand for that, and there's a market for it. Can we keep it local? Can we make sure it circulates and goes to the people that need it most?
Aside things like apparel and circularity, Tessel, you've taken on the good climate fight in a few other ways as well. You were part of a group of female footballers who wrote a letter to FIFA. Can you tell us a little bit more about that, please?
Yes, this was back in October. We wrote a letter to FIFA with over 130 female footballers, with lots of caps between us, 2,700, I believe, players from over 35 countries. So it was a worldwide movement, which was pretty cool to be a part of. We wrote a letter to FIFA because they had announced a new partnership with Saudi Aramco. That is the largest oil and gas producer in the world, and they are now the sponsor of men and women's World Cups for the years to come. And we wanted to speak out and make a stance on the basis of, like I said, their climate record, the damage they do to the planet, just with their main core activities. And on top of that, they're almost entirely 98.5% owned by the Saudi state, and they don't have a good track record as well when it comes to human rights and women's rights. So we didn't feel like Saudi Aramco would be a good sponsor for FIFA, who organizes women's World Cups. I thought it was quite a strong message that so many women spoke out and signed the letter. So that's why we wrote that letter.
The jury's really out on who is really walking their talk. What are they doing to back up their claims? And there's lots of varying degrees of success there, I would say. What is the one thing, though, that you would love the powers that be do, one change that they could make that would really make a big difference?
So the heads of FIFA and UEFA, they decide who is sponsoring their tournaments. They decide which billboards are around the fields whenever we enter the pitch. They partly decide who the sponsors are on the front of our shirts that we have to wear as footballers. So I think there's a massive responsibility there to pick the ones that fit with the sports values, that fit with a future, a safe and healthy future for everyone. We know which you demonstrated in your documentary so well, David, that if we don't do anything, a quarter of football pitches by 2050 in England will be flooded. Climate change is real. It's happening already. We see all sorts of weather events, summer and winter time. So we need football to take its responsibility. It is the largest sport worldwide. We have the chance to be a force for good, but we have to pick the right partners to help us move forward for a better and greener future, if you like.
Talking about, roles and authority and all that kind of stuff, you're vice chair of PFA Scotland, if I'm not right. That's the players union. Can you try and harness that position, try and create a bit of momentum, and also just the idea, and I quite like it myself, of female footballers taking a leading role in this topic to really kind of energise it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I've been involved with the PFA Scotland for a few years now. Moved there 3.5 years ago. I've been trying to use that position to, first of all, work on things like issues in the women's game, but also broader when it comes to sustainability. I've had many conversations with people at the union, trying to, starting off asking some questions. I've been in touch with David Wheeler, who is massive in the English PFA, and who's done lots of good work as well. And he's been working, trying to move like pension schemes towards more sustainable sources, if you like. So I've been trying to talk with PFA Scotland about their where their pension money is invested in. So that is one of the examples, because I think it's quite an overlooked part of it, but there's a lot of money going on there. So that is quite a big area that I think we can do more on. However, you're always met with a bit of, but we want to make sure that, the union's money is safe. And so progress doesn't always, go overnight, but by keep asking questions, I like to think that slightly we're moving towards a more sustainable direction with the union, because we want to give the good example as a union, and as I would hope that many associations would do.
And you can really tell, Tessel, that really sings through every one of your actions, and you're really driving this conversation, this agenda where you are. But it is everyone's game, right? And every person, every fan has agency. So what's the one thing that you think that anyone could do that can have a positive impact? And when you think about football and its responsibility towards this whole topic of climate change, what sort of things can they do?
There's a few organizations that they can connect with. In the UK, there's Action FC, for example. In the Netherlands, there's Fossil Free Football, and I'm sure they have online meetups as well. So feel free to join them both wherever you are based in the world. There are organizations out there that really want to incorporate the fans, because players and the fans, they make football. It's not the people in boardrooms deciding. It's we have more power than we think if we come together. So it's just about finding an organization or a club or a group of people in your local area and community that you can link with, because like I said, you're not alone. If you're listening to this and you feel passionate about the climate and the climate and the planet, and the direction that it's going, there's others that who feel the same. So try and connect with as many people as you can, and like I said, reach out to those organizations where you'll meet a lot of like-minded people.
Yeah, and listen, you are what I'd like to call a really positive type of influencer in this conversation. You genuinely using that word as it's meant to be used, and as I mentioned, it's so genuine and so authentic with you. Please do just keep on fighting as you have been and representing as you have been, because you do it brilliantly, Tessa. We really appreciate you sparing the time to chat to us here at Sky Sports about it. Thank you so much for the conversation.
Thank you so much, David, and same to you. Keep up the great work.